Okay. Hi, welcome to our final for Hamadi's class, or Professor Hamadi. We are two idiots talking about three philosophers, and we don't know a lot, but we're still going to talk about it. We will be discussing Aristotle, Hume, and Descartes, not in that order. But yeah, so we're going to start off with Descartes. He with his meditations. He had 6 meditations, and I think all of them are whack. But I'll let you start us off. I'll give you the honors.
All right, thank you for giving me the honors.
You're welcome.
So for the first meditation, he goes on thinking about anything and everything, and just to find the truth. So the only way you can find the truth is if it is 100% certain. He is like the number one skeptic in my mind. It is quite insane, but basically, if anything could be proven wrong or has the slightest bits of faulty, it is completely wrong.
What are your thoughts on that?
That is just that's kind of insane. Like, I kind of trusted him to be here. He could murder me for all I know.
Well, that's the outro, so don't spoil it.
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I think if you're gonna think that far into everything, it's you can't do anything, because you can't prove everything is real all the time. Because imagine you go outside and it's like, all right, well, what if I take this step and then it opens up a sinkhole and I die, and then you'd live life so scared you wouldn't do anything. If you think if something has a chance to happen, like, oh, I did that's for real. Like, he's annoying. We're gonna talk about how annoying he is, but anyways, that's basically chapter 1, or book 1, or whatever 1. So for the second
Meditation.
meditation 1. Thank you. So for the second meditation is where he gets his quote, "I think, therefore I am." In this quote, he's basically discussing in his own mind, like, oh, what if I am insane? And how can I prove I am real? If I am insane, how do I know I'm insane? Because I can't prove that, because to me, I am real. I think that my head is made of a glass pumpkin or something like that. I remember he said that. And I think that again, like he said earlier, fire quote. Why are you giving me the stink eye?
My bad.
But is a good quote, and I think that's one of the few bits of logic that he has in here. If you can think I am alive, you're alive. I know that.
Go more into detail about it.
Yeah. What, you want to go more in detail? Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, he was trying to discover if he is real, if he could disprove himself, because he goes out disproving everything, or at least he tries to, and if there's a way to disprove it a little bit, then it's completely false. So he tries to disprove himself, saying that he's not real, or that the way he thinks isn't real, and that his whole entire life is just he gives an example of that there is a demon tricking him the whole entire time, and which is insane. It's I guess that could be. It's like if we were in a jar and it's our brain, and we're just being programmed to think that everything is fake. Like this table, this camp, we couldn't even be here. Mm-hmm. But then he says, because the way that I think, and the way that if I am fake, then I can't think, or at least there is not a thing to disprove that. And just trying to disprove yourself proves that you are something.
Yeah. So at least you have that. I remember that's what he says. He says at least you have that. You're not sure if you're insane or if you're asleep or if you're awake, but at least you are thinking. You are something. Is this the meditation where he goes on to talk about the wax?
I think it is, and it's where he goes on to say you close your eyes and put two things together. Or what was it meditation 1?
I think that was 2. Meditation 1 was really just going over him establishing that he thinks nothing is real.
Yeah.
So then with meditation 3, that's when he starts to go on his first reason of how God can exist, and I think that it's quite the jump from going that nothing is real to I am real to God is real. Because the existence of God is still a hotly debated topic to this day. So to just go, it feels like a jump in logic. Because the way he does it, he bases every thing off of what he said previously. So if step 2 was wrong, he's on step 17 and it's also wrong. It's like math. So I think he's talking out of nowhere for a lot of this. He sounds like me when I'm late night. I think I'm thinking so deep and philosophically, but he's really just talking to talk. It's unnecessary.
It's funny how you bring up the math part, because even he was like, "Is math even real?" He's like,
Oh.
"What if our brain is tricking us that 2 + 3 isn't actually giving us the right answer?"
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's
So goofy.
A lot of people, philosophers, and just people in general, when this came out, and nowadays, reacted to this by saying "What's the point? Where did you? Nothing changed by you doing this. The only difference is you are not sure if things are real anymore. It's like this is pointless. Questioning if things are real doesn't affect anything. It's kind of like your perspective on life with we live in the Matrix or not, or if we're on just a simulation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. It's still the joy I feel when I do things, the sadness I feel when something happens. The emotions are real, so then it's real to me.
Yeah.
Right? Do you have any more thoughts on this meditation?
Just that it's so goofy.
Yeah, and we're gonna go on to another one because we're getting down to the time. But basically, copy and paste what we just said about this one to the other ones, because like we said, domino effects. Second domino's wrong, the others aren't gonna fall. So, okay. So now, on to Aristotle. Fine. Okay. So next, we're talking about Aristotle, and in his first book, he talks about how what's the end goal of a person. What's the end goal? And so usually, the goal is okay, well, I need to get ready. What do you need to get ready? To go to class and do good. Why do you need to go to class and do good? So I can get an A. Why do you need to get an A? Because there's. But in the end, everything that you're doing, the end goal of everything he says is for happiness. And I agree with that. I think that we don't do things for pain. We don't do things for sadness. Well, sometimes, but that's for happiness. The bits of sadness in our life is what makes it nice. But, yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that? Or no?
Whenever he brings up the part, because I know how you brought up the part, it's part sadness. I feel like in our life we need to experience all these different things. We at least need to have a part of sadness, a part of pain, a part of joy, and not just fill our whole lives with happiness, which is, you say that's somewhat what he's trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like your whole life needs to be happy, but at the same time he says we shouldn't look at parts of our life, which is the only happy parts, but that we should take it all together, which all that together is the happy, the sad, the pain, the grief, whatever it might be, and put it together and look at that as a whole and say it's how much happiness is that, and is that a good life?
Right.
I don't think just because you have let's say in your life you have way more sadness and way more pain than happiness, does that mean that your life is practically worthless and not happy?
Right.
But in those times where you're happy, even though it was a small time frame of happiness, that boost in happiness, or that feeling, that can make life worth living. And that's what I think it really is, because look at the people back then. They were dealing with all these crazy things, fucking, what is it, I was about to say dinosaurs, but they were not. I don't know the dinosaurs, some woolly mammoths, but then they were probably enjoying life, that great victory over this ginormous beast, it's really something.
I think they also had the joys of what we have nowadays, the having a family and having people who care for you. Just the kind of fellowship that you enjoy having people who depend on you and you depend on them. So, so Aristotle goes on to talk about virtue, and what virtue is he describes it as like it's not an emotion; it's more like a state of being, an attitude toward things. It's emotions they come and go and they shift and change based on how things are happening. But virtue is just how you react to the world. That's your character. I stole that from him. So yeah, do you want to say anything about virtue?
Not really. Well, just about like how he thinks of virtue is like being a virtuous person is taking every single scenario and finding the lowest and the highest. So let's say like a fool, and then what was it? It was like the fool, and then what was it?
I don't remember.
I forgot, but it was like basically taking like let's say the happiest and then the saddest, and he was saying you shouldn't be too happy,
Right.
but then you shouldn't be too sad. You need to be right in the middle,
Mhm.
and that's how it should be for everything. Honest. Yeah, he even brings up honesty. It's like you shouldn't be too honest, nor
Oh,
should
yeah.
you hold out on it. It's like if you're like ugly, you shouldn't be like, hey, you're ugly. You should like be in the middle, or you shouldn't be like, you're beautiful. You should be like, you got something to work on.
You should work on that whole. But he talks about virtue and how the soul has an irrational part and and an irrational part. So the irrational part deals with bodily matters and just kind of like your instinct, or not instinct. It's more just kind of like what you do on autopilot, and then the rational part has a lot of effect on your virtue, whereas the irrational doesn't. The irrational part controls your impulses and like it has a major effect on what you do. So the impulses thing is again going back to that like how it's your character, how you react in a situation, mad, happy, or sad. That changes how much virtue you have. And then moral virtue is something we acquire by experience. Virtuous people want to do the right thing because it's virtuous. So a lot of it's like respect and honor, I feel like have the same kind of feeling as virtue. He talks about how with virtue you always want to stay in the middle of emotions, which we talked about. But I feel like you can kind of say that about everything though. And it's like, well, you don't want to eat too much food, but you don't want to eat too little food. You don't want to have too much money because that changes your character. But if you have too little money, you can't live. And like, yeah, I think you can say that about everything. I don't think that's a new idea.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe this is like the first time people thought about, whoa, I shouldn't have everything? But yeah. So, to lead a virtuous life, you should have a life that results in happiness. Not just like short term, but like a kind of like deep rooted just joy and fulfillment. I think that's a good way to put it. Do you want to talk about the virtuous life a little bit more, or do you want to go on?
I remember he does bring up the fact that like cities or towns or like just places where there's a lot of people, that there should be a virtuous person to look up to. I think that's kind of interesting, and I forgot if he did say that, but he was saying that like, I think it was him that he was bringing up that a republic, that like it shouldn't be run by like anyone, and like who you vote on, it should be run by like philosophers or someone that's like virtuous, instead of like having the people vote. Because then he says that the way that people vote, a lot of people vote on emotions and all these other things, that some people might vote on the overall good while some people might vote on personal gains. And he thinks that that's what we need to look for. We need to look for a virtuous person who's right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. Right again, right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Yeah. So now on to Hume. I think this was our first more atheist. Actually, I think it was our second atheist philosopher. And Hume was an atheist, but more specifically, he was big into like that miracles are they violate the laws of nature.
Yeah.
And I mean, your example of you phase through the truck, is that a miracle or what? Or if you roll and you don't have a scratch on you, is that a miracle? And I think a lot of those things come down to chance, but I don't know. With miracles, I've never had a miracle happen to me. I've only ever heard stories of like, oh yeah, my friend's grandma's mom, she had cancer and it disappeared. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what if that's just what happened to the body?
Yeah.
I've always wondered, like, if something happened to me that I was able to really say, oh, well, that's a miracle. What if that's just science that we don't understand yet? What if it's like, oh yeah, sometimes cancer cells just randomly cease because of a random chemical that you ingested, and that's the cure to cancer. We just don't know it yet. Like something like that. There's always like a different way to think about it. What do you think about miracles? Do you like his definition of they violate the laws of nature?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, they do violate the laws of nature. A lot of it is kind of like, people would say, like, superstition. Like, for me, I know my sister, she got into a car accident, and then it is quite, like, I guess some would say a miracle.
Right.
Or, like, per chance that she did live, because it was quite insane. Like, her car was totaled, the engine, like, went, like, kind of through into her seat.
Ooh,
but
man.
it was just insane, the fact that, like, they were always telling us that, like, she's going to lose her legs, she's going to lose him, or either that she's never going to be able to walk, she's not going to have feelings. But then at the end of the day, hell, she's at my house right now, she's walking around. So you could consider that a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm even though I am a man of God, or, whatever you want to say, I kind of do, like, I don't want to, like, jump into it and be like, oh my goodness, it's God, thank you.
Yeah.
But of course I'm going to thank God, but
right.
At the same time, it's like, it is a chance that, yes, of course, that it happens,
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that happen.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit more about that, but Hume has more to say about miracles. So it says, miracles are highly improbable because they violate the laws of nature. Since we should base our beliefs on the weight of evidence, it's always more likely that a report of a miracle is false than that a miracle actually happened. Because, with key eyewitness testimonies, a lot of the times they're wrong. They're just wrong. And so they'll get innocent people thrown in jail for just no reason because they think that they know what happened. A lot of that's bias in their own head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, I saw that happen. Well, they really do think that happened, but a lot of what they're seeing is based off of like memory and haziness, where it's like, oh, what happened? So I feel like that might be somewhat with miracles. I mean, yours seems much more like grounded, because it's like, oh yeah, this was a long time. Like, it wasn't just like a quick thing of an eyewitness testimony. But yeah, I think I like what he says here about we should think about miracles based in like grounded in experience. Basically, that's what he says in the next chapter. When referring to souls, he says to have moderate skepticism, just to be curious, but also stay grounded in experience. And I think I like that a lot, because before you talked about how as suspicion, or like as the improbability rises, so should our suspicion. But what you said happens is it's going like this, but then it goes like this.
Yeah.
For some, it's so strange. Or it's like, oh man, that would never happen, but that's really cool if it did happen, so I believe it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happens with miracles a lot.
Yeah, I'd say that happens a lot in history, as people look at all these like crazy stories and they're like, whoa, that happened?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has to be real. Like, hell, we could take like a lot of like historical figures and put them in these insane situations, and then a lot of people, like, hell, how many people even witnessed it? Not many. But at the same time, sometimes it's just one source, and then because it's that one source and how insane it is, people tend to take it like oh, that really happened. Mm-hmm. It's just because of how like crazy it is, more people would tend to believe in it, because I would say it's like it's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's exciting to be like, wow, that can actually happen.
Yeah,
someone can touch this bar of wood and turn it into a bar of gold, like the Midas touch. Like, this That's how those kind of rumors spread around, like the cheese touch. I'm just so it makes life so fun. But yeah, that's all we have to say about Hume. Or I'm done with Hume. Are you done with Hume?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so we're sorry for taking up 21 minutes of your time, but this is our discussion of philosophy. Sorry that you couldn't be on here because then you're involved with it. That's not allowed.
We would have murdered you.
I murder him, he'll murder you, so you can do what you want, I guess. But thank you for watching.